you go today. So I'd just like to say to everyone who has joined us today, thanks very much for joining to another Totara community webinar. Today we are going to be talking to the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman, and we're really lucky because we're joined by Shaun France today and also by Ros from Chambry. I'll do a little introduction in a second to both the speakers. So just to let you know that this session is being recorded and it's available, it'll be available in the Totara community afterwards. It'll also be on YouTube, so you can go and watch it there, or you can also share it with your colleagues if you like. I think we're jumping ahead a little bit. So just as an introduction, Shaun, would you mind introducing yourself today?
Yeah, no problem at all. So hi everybody, and sorry you can't see me. I don't want to break anything else on the system today. It's not my friend. We normally use Microsoft Teams, so um, my God, what's the name of it?
Zoom.
Zoom, there we go. Completely new. So, hi everybody. My name's Shaun France. I'm the Learning and Organisation Development Manager at the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman. So, my responsibility in this organisation is to try and help and create a learning culture within our organisation, and my particular focus is digital. So, hence the reason I'm talking to you today.
Brilliant, thanks so much, Shaun. And Ros, would you mind saying hello?
Hello, yes. So my name is Ros. I work with Chambry Learning. We're a partner. I've worked with Totara in some capacity or another for about 8 years now. It's a great platform. Love working on it, especially with customers like Shaun.
Brilliant, thanks so much. And Shaun, if we just have a quick look at what we're going to cover today.
Yeah, certainly. So today I'm just going to share with you our experiences really of how we have been using Totara to help empower our staff, and it's been really focused on the full cycle, so skills, knowledge, and behaviours. We're going to talk a little bit about how we've integrated and what integrations we've got with different platforms, different resources to try and get the best learning experience, and also to just showcase our NHS complaint standards training that we have launched this year. So we're a public sector organisation, so we don't sell anything, but what we do is want to try and create learning cultures within the organisations that within our remit, and one of those things we're looking at is complaint handling, so I'll talk to you a little bit more about that shortly. Any lessons learned we've got, and then finish off by just giving you some things that we're going to be working on in the future to keep it developing.
Thanks, Shaun. And if you do have questions today as well for Shaun, you can throw those up and we will come to them. Okay, so Shaun, just as a background, so if people aren't aware of the PHSO, could you tell us all about your organisation, what it does, why it stands for, and why it exists, really?
Yeah, so full title Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman, but as you can see, that's a bit of a mouthful. So, yeah, PHSO for short, we'll be referring to it as. So, we provide a free public service, and it's focused around complaint handling. So, we are the final stage of a complaint handling process for both central government and for NHS complaints. So, you'll go through the internal process, for example, with the NHS, and they will provide you with a final decision. We would then, if you're still not happy, they can bring that complaint to ourselves, and then we would look at that independently. So we don't take sides. We're not part of government. We are a publicly funded organisation, so that means that we can be that independent voice, and we hold leaders to account and organisations to account if there have been incorrect processes or maladministration. If they find in their favour, then unfortunately sometimes things do happen. So, for example, NHS can be you're taken off a doctor's register all the way up to avoidable deaths, and then sometimes unavoidable deaths do happen, and it's been unavoidable just because of the person's medical situation, etc. But like I said, that final stage of that complaints process, and we look at it independently. We also cover government things. So central government, not local government, because that's a different ombudsman.
Thanks so much, Shaun. And where are you speaking to us from today?
So we're based in Manchester. Our head office is Manchester. We've also got a site in London. But yeah, I'm in Manchester today.
And what's the weather like in Manchester, Shaun?
It's Manchester. Can't see a window right now, but I'm going to go. It's a 90% chance of rain.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so Shaun, let's just sort of rewind the clock a little bit. So before you implemented Totara, what was your learning offer looking like around 4 years ago?
Yeah, so I joined the organisation just over 5 years ago now, and when I started, it was very traditional classroom-based training. We did full day sessions or half-day sessions. We had a learning management system. We didn't really utilise it, and We used our HR system to record training events. We used Outlook to manage those training events, but the learning management system was sat there in the background. We did a little bit of e-learning, so we just did 2 courses for new starters and an induction, and everything else was kind of like ad hoc and just managed sporadically. So one of my jobs when I came into the organisation is to just try and mature our digital learning offer.
Okay, so just trying to, I like the way you phrase that. You just tried to do that a little bit. So one of the things you,
A small task.
yeah, just try to do that. Okay, so one of the ways you decided to do that was to partner with Totara and with Chambry. So if I just make a quick sort of question, really, why did you decide to use Totara as your sort of technological solution, really?
Yeah, so we, as a publicly funded organisation, we need to make sure that we're using our money wisely. And so, what we wanted to do is make sure that we got a platform that met us, our current needs, but also our future needs. And so we've got some really strong ambitions within our organisation. So, what we did is we tendered for an external LMS consultant to come in and work with our organisations that are in remit, so the NHS and government departments, worked internally with our different internal stakeholders and our learners to find out what it is that they want and what it is that we need for an LMS in the future. And so they then provided us with a few names, a few providers, and Totara was one of those. I will be really honest, until you got the multi-tenancy feature, that wasn't something that we were able to do, but we've put in right at the good time to introduce that. So that meant that you were then going to meet our needs for now and in the future.
Brilliant, thanks, Shaun. And you also decided to work with Chambry. So what made that decision to partner with Chambry?
Again, similar circumstance. Public sector went through an entire tender. If anybody does work in the public sector, they know how fun those sorts of things can be. And what we did is we got suppliers to come back to us and pitch essentially what it is that they can offer. Chambry have a huge amount of experience within the NHS field, and that's one area of focus for ourselves. But also the reporting, that it goes above and beyond to what Totara provides. So that was a real benefit to us. And with it being a organisation that you're of a certain size, we're not lost in there. They do really value us as a company to work for and as an organisation to work for. So we get that real good relationship building, and they start to understand what it is that we want and our desires for the future.
Thanks, Shaun. So just if you're new to Totara, you're trying to learn more about Totara, typically organizations will come and partner with a provider. And in this case, the provider is Chambry Learning Solutions. And for Chambry today, we have Roz, who's just going to give us a quick introduction as to what Chambry stands for and what Chambry does, really.
Yeah, hi, thanks. I mean, that was great, Shaun. I should just leave it at that. But yeah, sort of what we've always tried to do is to really emphasize the relationships with our customers. So it's a kind of mission statement. We promise to continually develop our services to meet and exceed customer expectations. Founded in 2012, and our market is predominantly public sector and NHS and healthcare. But we are starting to diverge from that a little bit. But certainly over 50% of our customers are NHS trusts or things related to that. Slides got a bit more on some of our priorities. So organisationally, some of the things we focus on are customer care, cost effectiveness, processes, ease of access, innovative technology, and as Shaun mentioned, compliance and reporting. Lots and lots of the plugins and extensions that we've developed for Totara are in that space. So there's a few sort of key reports, certainly the NHS areas kind of really need. So we've made those kind of hit one button to get that report out. And we focus on your needs and making it work. We're able to do a lot of things with Totara. I mean, it's an incredibly versatile platform. The way Shaun and the PHSO are using it is really, really interesting. And that's true across our customer base. Everyone's got slightly different needs and slightly different ways of using the platform. So our role is really to work with you to make it work for your use case.
Thanks, Roz. And Shaun, so we come back to sort of your strategy really and your vision. So when you started about 5 years ago, did you sit down and just think, okay, what do we need and how are we going to get there? Or how did you develop a strategy and your vision?
So we made sure that we're aligned to our organisational strategy and aim. So working really closely with the organisational key, like senior leaders. We also wanted to say what we wanted to do as an organisation. So where our current gaps are, what we currently don't do very well, and as you can see from our strategy, so we've got 3 organisational objectives. This is a brand new one, so this is a refreshed one from last year, but it was along the similar lines from when we started. And as we can see there, one of the key things that we're aiming to achieve in Objective 3 is to create a continuous learning culture, and contribute to that to the public services. Well, we need that within our organisation if we're asking for other organisations to do so. Also around making sure that our people have the skills, knowledges and behaviours, because we've said that we want them to provide a high quality, empathetic and timely service. They need the skills, knowledge and behaviours to be able to do that.
Great, thanks, Shaun. So if we take a look at some of those strategies and objectives and think about how you're starting or you are meeting those, we can have a quick look at some of your current offerings. And who is this current offering for?
So this is our offer across our organisation. So we mentioned earlier about having our LMS with 2 e-learning modules on it and everything else kind of being managed off our system. This is all now being managed on our system, so or through the what we call My Learning, so through Totara. Now the main thing to say about that is that we do use the full talent experience platform, or we're starting to. So we currently have Learn, and then we're starting to explore into the other aspects of the Totara offer. But it is across our organisation. So we've invested in technology, we've invested in career development, so introduced mentoring and coaching, which is not, the system isn't the focal point, but it is there to support them, and it is there to be that one-stop shop. Our leadership and management programs are all managed through our learning LMS, and then creating user-generated content, action learning sets, communities of practice, again, all being managed through the LMS. Different audiences for different topics, but we've got a plethora of different resources out there to help people start to have that investment in learning.
Brilliant, thanks, Shaun. If you were to pick out any of these as strategies that you think are working really well at the moment, for example, your onboarding or micro-learning, is there anything that you're particularly proud of?
Let me think. I think our job shadowing scheme's really taken off quite well. So we want to promote squiggly careers. If anybody's seen that that podcast, so job shadowing, getting people an opportunity to look and learn about other parts of the organisation. Again, managed through the LMS. People can apply for that. They can find out more a little bit more about the different parts of the organisation. So that's been really useful. We're just about to launch our new leadership and management program. That's all going to be through like tailored through dashboards and things like that on the LMS. So it's going to look quite fancy. But really, that's underpinned all of that is our digital learning framework. So an investment from the organisation to progress, and we've got like a 3-year plan of how we can develop our digital competence in learning.
Thanks, Shaun. Oh, you said was it squiggly career? That sounded interesting.
Yeah, squiggly careers. Yeah, there's a TED talk on it. It's really interesting how in the olden days, I'm going to use an inverted like brackets. It used to be that you had the same job for your entire life. You may be working 2 or 3 organisations and the same industry, whereas now you go into different sectors, and it's those transferable skills that help you, which is very different to what our parents might have done.
It's brilliant, thank you. If anyone else is aware of squiggly careers, or you're trying to progress with squiggly careers, like feel free to put that in the chat and talk about how you're doing that. But that's great, thanks, Shaun. And if you were to sort of give us a little walkthrough of your LMS or your platform, how does it currently look, and what does it look like for the audience?
Yeah, so it's grown massively since we started. So we're starting to get some feedback that we want to make it a bit more simple. So because as you naturally grow as an organisation, we've started to add more things onto it, and we've just not really thought about the user experience. So we're about to embark on a piece of work to try and make it a lot more user friendly, and it's that the functionality is there. It's just that we've like grown massively since in the last 4 years from a learning offer. So this is an example of our home page. So we've got the ability to really tailor this, and this is through the dashboard functionality. You can have different tiles, different size tiles to really demonstrate what it is. So we're trying to simplify it so that it's really user friendly for people.
Brilliant. If I move on to the next one.
Yeah, so this is the library essentially, and you can use interactive. Well, we've tried to use GIFs to make them really engaging, and then we've used different infographics, etc., to try and make it really clear. You can see that they've got the title there, but underneath that you can add different information. So we've said what type of content it is, and what type of topic it is. So you might see on the first one, it's a learning lab, which is our voluntary learning program within our organisation. So you can really tailor it to how you want it to look.
And how easily are people finding things as well when they use the catalogue, Shaun?
Well, our catalogue's grown massively, so it's from 2 to nearly 1,000 resources now. So there's a huge amount on there. They've got quite a lot of different ways. So we use different ways of tailoring and focusing the content. So you can do that using different search criteria. So they do find it quite well. You've just got to be really honest on top of your management and curation of content to make sure that things are always relevant. But that's like any other LMS.
Brilliant, thanks, Shaun. If we look at the next one.
So this is another example of a dashboard that I was mentioning. So we have hundreds of casework resources. So caseworkers are essentially our operational staff. So they're the people that deal with the calls and deal with the complaints that we receive, and they have, as you can imagine, covering the NHS and government, there's a huge amount of knowledge that they need to be able to have at their fingertips, and what we wanted to do is keep it really condensed. So we decided to break it down to these areas so that people can find things as easily as possible.
Thanks, Shaun. And what types of learning resources do you have on your platform as well? Is it mostly courses, or do you have other things as well?
So we have courses. We're just starting to introduce social learning through our communities of practice. So we're going to have collaboration spaces. We have infographics. We can do assignments. You can do quizzes. There's the typical seminars or workshop based, but e-learning videos, all the things that you would expect. But we have quite a wide range of stuff, and then mostly links to other areas and internal things on our content database. So SharePoint.
Okay, thanks, Shaun. And obviously, to make all this work, you're using a lot of different pieces of functionality through Totara. And I wonder if you wanted to call out any, for example, before you mentioned multi-tenancy, how's that working at the moment? And are there any other functionalities or pieces of functionality you'd like to call out here as well?
Yeah, so we've I think main ones, multi-tenancy, integration with NMS Teams, so people don't have to move away from the learning management system. I think that's been working quite well for people, so that they can share content directly on Teams if you have that integration. And yeah, we've got single sign-on. Anything else we want to bring out? So multi-tenancy, I think, probably is one of the better features for us as an organisation. So we talked about the NHS, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit of time. But we need them to have a separate area, a completely closed off area that they can access, so that they can't see our internal content and there's no mix of learners. And that for us was really important and one of our requirements. We talked about dashboards already, and yeah, I think they're the main things really.
So if you were completely new to the system, Shaun, you didn't know what the term multi-tenancy meant, what is it, if you could break it down even more into a bit of a nutshell, what does it mean to you, multi-tenancy?
Oh, it feels like a test this now, so
Yeah.
I'll try my best. So yeah, for multi-tenancy, so for example, it's an extended enterprise essentially, is how it's described. So if you have your internal learners, so for me, our organisation, it's our caseworkers and our other staff, support staff. So you have them in what is essentially one area of the system, but we want to train the NHS. So what we do is we set up essentially a separate, it's all connected, a separate site with site managers, etc. And then they can access different areas. So we create a whole new learning environment for them, essentially, with their own courses, their own branding, their own theme. So it feels PHSO, but it's got a very different look to it. So it aligns to, we know it's the NHS site.
Okay, so I think we'll give you a pass for that answer.
Thank you.
That's good. That was a great answer. Thank you. And if anyone has any questions about any of the functionality, so Tony's asking, can you give us more detail on the MS Teams integration with Toto? I don't think there's anything you want to say on that right now, Shaun. Otherwise, we can come back to that question.
Yeah, so we've got an integration with MS Teams. So there is an app that you can have onto your MS Teams site. So our IT helped us with that, but they've also got the integration with the ability to like create Teams links on directly from Totara. So there's those two different integrations, and both of them have been really useful. So you don't have to, if you, like my organisation has a shared mailbox and a group of people that can help create events, you can all create them from one event so that you can do from one account. So we've got like a training account, so we all log into that and create Teams links from there. So it means that people can use all the functionality of Teams. We know that it's got challenges around if you're not a host and you can't do breakout rooms and things. So that's one of the integrations. The other integration is that app. So if you have the app, you're in a chat with somebody, they go, oh, I'm really stuck with this. You can go, oh, have you seen this resource? And it comes directly up from there and just search for it.
Great, thanks so much, Shaun. So what we're talking about at the moment mostly is your internal use. We've just touched on multi-tenancy there to work with NHS staff, but just from an internal perspective, how are things going with your platform at the moment?
Yeah, so as you can see from the statistics, the left hand, the lighter blue figure or teal coloured figure, I'm going to say, is our employee engagement scores since 2017. The one on the right was our L&D scores, so the L&D engagement scores. So as you can see, over the years since we started to introduce digital learning, it has massively increased. We're just about to do our next staff survey, so I'm hoping that it's gone even further. So when I started this and started to introduce the digital learning side of it in 2019, we're about 1/3, just over 1/3 of our employees who thought that our L&D offer was great. We've now moved up to just below 66% now. So 2/3 of our organisation think it provides them what they need. It helps them with career development. It's providing a good service, and we get that anecdotally all the time at the moment, saying, I can't believe what offer you provide for your staff, and it's all managed through the LMS.
Great, thanks so much, Shaun. So if we move on away from sort of your internal offering and move on to the NHS complaints standards, we have a video here which may or may not play sound. People who work in the NHS. Everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Sometimes things go wrong, and there are times when people raise concern or make a complaint. But how can we make sure that we handle those complaints well and that we learn from them to improve what we do? The public have told us what they would like to happen when they make a complaint, but there is no single set of standards for those working in the NHS to follow when responding to concerns and complaints. This means that everyone has a different experience. We asked the NHS, government departments, members of the public and advocacy organisations what they thought an ideal set of complaint standards could look like. They said it should promote learning and improvement, encourage people to actively seek and share feedback, be thorough and fair so that complaints are listened to and dealt with consistently, be balanced and accountable. We've used these principles to start building a complaint standards framework for the NHS. The framework will set out a shared vision for complaint handling and how complaints can help improve services. Okay, thanks, Shaun. So I know that we've just watched a video there, but perhaps you could just explain that in a nutshell as to what really we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah, so as an organisation, we were seeing that there was quite a disparity between different trusts that you might go to for complaint handling. Some followed great best practice, some didn't, and that's the NHS as an organisation. So you should be getting the same experience no matter which trust that you're dealing with. Ultimately, what our aim for this complaint standards is for us to receive less complaints, because that means that the complaints are being dealt with in the right way firsthand. So what we decided to do is introduce these complaint standards, which all NHS organisations can align and work towards. And then as a result of those standards, we worked with the NHS to create those and get that single set of standards. We need to train people of how to follow these standards. So that's hence the reason for the multi-tenancy. We've introduced this new piece of training to our NHS organisations to train them up on how to follow the complaint standards.
Brilliant, thanks, Shaun. We're just getting a quick question about sort of the number of people really that work with you, Shaun, in the L&D team.
Yeah, so we are an organisation of just short of 600, and there are about 11 of us that work within the L&D team. So that covers not just digital. So we've got our senior managers, etc. But we've also got our people that look after our operational training and the trainers that support them. We've got our leadership and management and professional skills and personal skills side of things, and then we've got our digital arm. In my direct team, there are 4 of us that work directly on like managing the system, designing content, and so on.
Great, thanks, Shaun. And just coming back to working with the NHS. So, really cool. Sorry. Just talking about external learners again. I wonder if you could provide us some more information about exactly how you went about this project and about creating this as a learning solution as well.
Yeah, so obviously part of that tender activity was this was in fact a key focus for it. So once we knew that we'd got the platform that would support us for it, we worked with the NHS to create that content, and then we looked at how best to supply that content to these to the different organisations. So we decided that we'd offer a range of options to best suit people's needs. So we do a face-to-face course, we do a live online course similar to this today, and we also do a self-paced course, and we created 2 topics. So we created our early resolution course and we created our more in-depth closer look course. So the example that you can see on screen is one of our e-learning modules. So if you decided to do the self-paced module, that would be what you would go through. And then we've tested it, road tested it, got feedback from the NHS before we decided to go live, and then once we were happy with it, we got it CPD UK certified, so that we know that it's meeting a good standard. I know a lot of the NHS work off CPD hours, etc. So it meant that they can use these hours towards their continuous professional development.
Thanks, Shaun. And when you're building the courses and things like that, what type of features are you using in Totara to build those courses?
Yeah, so we've used dashboards again to make it a really tailored experience to how we wanted it to do. We created courses themselves, and in those courses, you've got the option for seminars. We've created e-learning SCORM files. So we have created feedback forms and certifications so that they can then add learners can then upload their certificate to their own learning management system, so they've got a record of it. Feedback forms have been really good. Anything else? I think quizzes and assessments, so that we can test people's knowledge and understanding of those. And then we've used documentation, etc., that can all be hosted on Totara to be able to refer back to should they need to at a later point.
Great, thanks, Shaun. And are you getting any feedback at the moment from the NHS about how this is working?
Yeah, the feedback is that people want it, because we started it in April this year, and we've got over 500 learners now on our books. So it's definitely wanted in the NHS. People that have been attending have provided great feedback, and we've used the feedback forms on Totara to kind of record that and manage any potential issues or any concerns that people might have. So yeah, nobody's really had any problems. I think we've been a victim of our own success, really. We're trying to keep up with the demand now, and try and get in as many people through the training as possible.
Brilliant, thanks, Shaun. Rodrigo's asking, can you elaborate on why people upload their certificates to the LMS?
So what I mean by that is not our certificate. So we have a certificate on our system, so that is when they complete the course, they receive a certificate. What I mean is the NHS like to have evidence and things like that for their learners to attend. So we created a certificate, it's created, and then they can upload it to their own LMS, so that they've got a record in their own organisations, because our 2 LMSs don't speak to each other. Ours is independent, so we need them to be able to have a mechanism for sharing what they've done and how many CPD hours they've got. So that then is how we do it through a certificate.
Thanks, Shaun. And at the start of the session, you talked a little bit about some space learning as well. I wondered if you could touch on that a bit and what you meant by that.
Yeah, certainly. So we're just about to start using, we just launched, sorry, our social learning aspect. So that's the engage elements of it. So we're using collaboration spaces for our coaches. So we've recently introduced qualified coaches into our organisation, and what we're finding is that once they've done the qualifications, they're not really collaborating or not really sharing experiences, not developing the skills as much as they possibly could do. So we've implemented collaboration spaces through Totara to be able to share that knowledge, ask for help, share resources so they can continue developing, and it's not all in a formal setting.
Brilliant. So you're combining your sort of formal learning through Totara Learn with your informal learning and communities of practice through Totara Engage, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant, thanks, Shaun. And if you were going to give yourself maybe some things that you've learned, or if you wanted to provide advice to other people about things you've learned whilst you've been creating this experience, what would some of those lessons be?
So yeah, three big ones for us: content curation. So what we found is that making sure that all the content is up to date as much as possible, and that it all really aligns, and that they complement each other. We grew hugely, very quickly, our resources. So making sure that they're really succinct and effective, but cater for different learning styles, I think is a massive learning curve for us. It also mentions like people analytics, so there's a lot of reports on there. We want to get better at making decisions based off what people want and need. So we've been using our declared interest reports to schedule content based off what people wanted, so that what their interests are. Previously, before using all those reports, we would just go, oh, what do people want to learn about? And we didn't really have much data behind it. So the people analytics side is definitely, we can get stronger. We're nowhere near perfect, but it's something that has definitely been a learning curve for us. And then the final one, sorry to interrupt, is just non-learning content. The platform has some really great functionality, and what we found is people wanted to add yoga sessions onto there or focus groups, and as much as we want people to use it, we want it to be the right content on there so that people know what it's there for and don't let that muddy the waters.
That's great, thanks, Shaun. And could you expand on that people analytics piece? For example, is there one example you could provide of a report that does that well?
So I think the declared interest report that we've got, I mentioned, so that lets us see people to register what they're interested in. We can schedule off that basis. Another report is what Chambry provide, is like the feedback report. So currently feedback, how it was previously is all our feedback data was all separate, so you'd have to go into a specific course, whereas this now allows us to align it into one, and we can see an overall theme for all of our content and all of our resources. So we've got consistent feedback forms across all of our courses, so it allows us to go, okay, what's a really top course, what do really people really like, what do we want to do, is specific about that course that we can then start to mirror into other courses, and that's something that we couldn't do before.
Brilliant, thanks, Shaun. And if people wanted to know more about that in the future, could they contact you, perhaps on the community, and ask some more questions about that?
Happy for people to reach out. It's all learning, and it's all about experiences. So we can definitely learn from other people as well. So I'd be interested to hear what people have to say.
Thanks very much, Shaun. Okay, and so what's next for the project?
So we're just about to launch 360, which is a big one for our manager program. So that's all going to be managed online. We used to use an external provider for that. So the fact that we can do that on our LMS is really useful. Because we've just started these communities of practice user-generated content, which is not something that we've had before, and that also gives us introduces through the perform feature, the engage feature, AI. So making recommendations of courses, again, something that we've not done. So they're probably some big ones for us. But yeah, lots in the plan, lots in the pipe work, and looking forward to seeing what else we can do with the system.
And Shaun, if someone else was trying to do this shift, so typically you might have a traditional organization that would have the L&D department deciding on the content that people should learn, perhaps in unison with the HR department. But if people are trying to create their own content, like, is that quite a big shift? And how do you help to sort of manage that change?
I think people are sharing it anyway. So whether they're doing it through the LMS or not, people are, oh, I've seen this resource, and sharing it with their team. So it's really good that we can see what that is. So if we encourage people to do it through the content or through the system, we can go, oh, actually that's a really great resource, we can then pull that into ourselves. So it is a bit of a shift. What we're doing personally is doing it slow and steady. We're not doing a big one to the entire organization. We're going to do it in pockets of areas, get feedback, get results, see what benefits it has, and then start to introduce it further out. So yeah, I think sometimes we think we want to go big bang with everything and everybody gets that opportunity, whereas I think we're a cautious organisation, but hence what we do. So we're just being a bit cautious with releasing it and seeing how it works.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, sort of slow and steady rather than just to everyone all at once.
Yeah.
Okay,
Definitely.
thanks, Shaun. Just to say, if anyone has any questions for Shaun, feel free to think of those now. I'm just going to talk about some other upcoming events. So next week, we're actually talking to BSH and their academy and how they're working with Totara and Cortexa to train over 25,000 learners. That's more of a manufacturing webinar, so you're welcome to come to that one. We also have a TXP or Totara Talent Experience Platform demonstration on the 27th. I'm not sure if anyone has any further questions for Shaun now. If there's anything at all you'd like to know about the platform or any questions about how to make the learning sort of engaging. I wonder if that is one thing, Shaun, that you've thought about before, is like, how do you get people to log on? How do you get people to utilize the system? Do you have to think about that a lot?
Yeah, so unfortunately, if they build it, they will come is not the truth. We do have to work really hard. So we've had quite a lot of engagement through our platform. So we're working on our notifications, so we can tailor notifications to look how we want them to, or to say what we want them to say, to try and encourage people to get involved, and they'll go to different audiences, so either the learner or the manager. We have a functionality on our homepage currently, which is like top courses or most recently added courses to try and promote what's been added there. We do a monthly roundup within our organisation to share what is new and what's coming up. So again, trying to encourage traffic. And then if that doesn't work, we've always got the direct emails to managers saying, do you know about this? What about your team? Would this be of interest? And that, to be honest with you, does work quite well to get people booked on and to attend or to try different things out. So we have omni-channel, I'll say.
Omni-channel, well, that's the best way.
Omni-channel.
And that monthly roundup, Shaun, how does that work exactly? Is that like a newsletter or what does that go? Is that on your Totara site?
So we use a bit of a carousel approach on the homepage, so that is on our Totara site, but we also use our intranet to support us with that. So we post it on there at the beginning of every month, and it's kind of like a set feature. And then our organisation does team brief articles, sessions, so managers get together with their team and share what is coming up, again to try and encourage people to do it. And that's about everything across the organisation, including learning.
Oh, great. Thanks so much, Shaun. Is there anything else you'd like to sort of mention from today or anything else you'd like to add before we finish off today's session?
Yeah, no, I think it's just thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I'm just here to share what our experiences are. So I'm hopeful that some people have got some insights and some ideas from it. Likewise, I'd be interested to learn about your ideas and what you've been doing with it. So yeah, feel free to connect.
Thanks so much, Shaun. And Shaun's in the Totara community as well, so you're welcome to connect there. I think your phone number's there as well, Shaun, too. You might get some phone calls as well. But thanks very much for speaking today, and thanks, Roz, for coming and speaking to us about Chambry as well.
No problem. Thanks very much for hosting. Much appreciated.
Okay, well, thanks everyone, and thanks everyone for coming along today. We will be running lots more webinars, so you're very welcome to keep coming to them in the future as well. So thanks everyone, and we'll finish there for today. Thanks, Shaun. Thanks, Roz.
Thank you. Bye bye.